Hi there, this is Mr. Evans. In this video I'm going to be looking at free trade versus protectionism. This is the final bullet point on this list of things that you need to be aware of. Variable factors in the economic environment that can change, and as they change they promote opportunities and costs, or opportunities and threats, for businesses. So we'll get into what open trade is, what protectionism is, and have a look at how changes in this environment can create opportunities and threats for businesses. So we'll start with protectionism actually, because open free trade is easier understood once you understand what protectionism is. So protectionism occurs when governments take measures to shield domestic industries from international competition using economic measures. In other words, the government wants to protect businesses in its own country from businesses abroad by using economic measures. So what are those economic measures? So we're trying to protect our own companies. We're trying to get people to buy from these British companies rather than buying foreign made goods made overseas. So the most common measures are tariffs, which are additional taxes placed on goods that are imported. Obviously that makes them more expensive and puts people off buying them. And quotas, where we literally put a limit on how many things can be imported. So we're only going to import 10,000 German cars this year. We're only going to import 30,000 bottles of French wine this year. Okay, that would be an example of a quota. There are lots of other measures. I won't go into all of them in depth. Subsidies is where the government gives money to companies in their own country in order that they can be competitive and export overseas. Embargoes is a ban placed on goods produced in a certain country. Intellectual property laws stop ideas being copied, basically. Red tape and administration is basically just making it awkward to import goods to a company. You know, there's certain rules placed on the selling of goods. And state procurement, where say if the government has to buy trains and the best trains are made in Canada, but we also make trains in the UK, maybe the UK government will buy the UK built trains, not because they're the best, but because they want to protect jobs in the UK. Okay, so state procurement would be another form of protectionism. Open or free trade, on the other hand, occurs when none of that is in place. Okay, so goods made in the UK can be freely sold to Germany, to people in New York. There's no trade, there's no protectionism placed on any of these goods, and me selling a product that I've made in London to somebody based overseas is just like me making a product in London and selling it to someone in Southampton, in Ipswich, in Cardiff, whatever. Okay, so what are the arguments for free trade? Well, number one important argument is that we gain from comparative advantage, we gain specialisation. So in the UK, we're considered to be quite specialised in the production of financial services. We have a history of stockbroking in the City of London, in banking, in insurance, and we've become quite good at that over the years. We've got the resources, we have people with the skills to do that, we've got the computer infrastructure to deal with those things. We're less good these days at making things like shoes. So let's just say Italians are quite good at designing shoes, making shoes efficiently. They've got people with the skills to make excellent shoes. So according to free trade, world output is going to increase if countries specialise in what they're good at and trade with other countries for what they're not so good at. So what would that look like? That would look like the UK producing insurance policies, other financial services, and selling those products to Italians. but we wouldn't be making any shoes. What we would be doing is we'd be buying Italian shoes off them because they're much better at us. They're far more stylish. The shoes are going to be more comfortable because they've got people with the skills to make those shoes, and they can do it a lot quicker than we can. So world output is going to increase, and we trade for what we're not so good at. Okay, so that's the theory of why free trade is so good. In addition to that, we're going to get increased competition. So British shoemakers, okay, there might still be a few of them, they're competing with Italian ones, which increases choice for consumers. So we're going to get lower prices, we're going to get more innovation. British companies are going to have to step up and try and make their shoes better to compete with Italian shoes. There would be improved service and quality. All of those benefits of competition that you know. There's the potential to gain from economies of scale. So we sell more overseas, we need to buy more raw materials, we expand, we benefit from cheaper production costs, cheaper unit costs as we get bigger. If you're not sure what economies of scale are, really important concept that you need to look up. We're going to transfer skills, we're going to transfer technology as a result of free trade. We employ Italian shoemakers maybe to come over here and teach us how they're so good. We get the greatest technology as a result of going overseas and trading with people, and overall there's an increase in welfare and living standards. Okay, so they're all strong arguments for free trade. What are the arguments for protectionism? Well, protectionism has been it's been fairly well proven to be damaging to the world economy. When countries engage in protectionism, as they did after the Wall Street crash in the 1930s, the world economy was really performing very badly. So it's been fairly well proven in economics that protectionism is not a good thing. However, there are some arguments for protectionism. Number one is the infant industry argument, whereby maybe you want to start off the shoemaking industry in your country. You think you could be good at making shoes, but you're not as good as the Italians yet, and you need to protect your shoemakers while they build up their skills, they build up the technology, and they build up the understanding of how to make good shoes. And just for a short time, you might want to protect them against Italian shoes by placing, say, a tariff on Italian shoes. That would be the infant industry argument. Maybe we need to protect employment in declining industries while we train these workers to get skills in other industries. So we might protect people for a short amount of time in providing a subsidy. You might look at controversially, the steel works in Port Talbot. Maybe we're not. Maybe we don't have comparative advantage in steel anymore, or we might subsidise that factory for a short time and try and train those workers in things that where ultimately there's going to be a better future. We might want to protect skills in strategic industries. So there's an argument, say, for defence, making weapons. Maybe we don't want to buy weapons from America because we want to protect the British weapons industry in case we go into war and we need it in the future. Same to be said with some food products. Maybe we'll need to produce our own food in the future, so we keep that industry going, maybe if it's not the most efficient in the world. And finally, protectionism can be argued to help conserve resources. Okay, so what are the so unfortunately, there's a lot of rhetoric in international politics, particularly, it has to be said, coming out of America, as I'm speaking, in 2017, the American government, about increased protectionism, about moving away from free trade, where the world has been going for the last 50 odd years, to a slightly more protectionist environment. So what opportunities might that, say, create? Well, we might be able to increase sales to domestic consumers. If America starts placing tariffs on Japanese and German cars because they want to protect their own car companies, well, that increases opportunities for Chrysler and other American car companies to increase their sales to Americans. There's the argument that businesses will be able to increase their prices and profit margins. Therefore, they'll be able to reinvest and create a competitive advantage. So if we can increase our profit margins, we get to reinvest money and make our companies even better. So that would be an opportunity. However, what are the threats? Well, it's all very well saying, we're America, we're going to put protectionist measures against you, Japan, and you, Germany, importing your goods. But what impact is that going to have on the sales of American cars abroad? Well, maybe Japan and Germany will want to retaliate, which is what tends to happen when there's protectionism, and we just build up these walls whereby we lose all of the advantages of free trade. And of course the cost of imported goods rises. So if we import some of our raw materials for making American cars from, say, we need electronics to make cars, lots of electronics are made in Japan. Well, if we're not buying Japanese cars, part of this retaliation might be, okay, you can't buy our electronics, and that increases costs of production. Okay, so some opportunities and threats there.